So it feels like a bit like coming home because I had the opportunity 2018 to give a presentation at the Women in Data Science in Munich. At those times, I presented my PhD in my startup idea. Today it's a bit different. I moved on, I had different situations. And today I will speak, what do we do at Swisspost? And just that you understand where do I come from, I originally did my PhD in sparse variable Bayesian inference problems for large-scale inference problems. And I have a mechanical engineering background, so I tried to combine physics and digital topics. And after my PhD, I had the opportunity to bring this into a startup opportunity. So that was also quite interesting. And my main focus was to combine physical knowledge, what you have by experience, with information you have from data topics. And over the time, I've been asked if I would like to come to Swisspost to drive the data-driven topics internally. And I found this quite interesting because Swisspost identified that they need to change. And the strategy of Swisspost is from 2021 to 2024, the Swisspost of tomorrow, to really move from the physical age or stage to a more digital one. And those of you who know Swisspost, they know we transport parcel and letters. They know in Switzerland that we also transport people. But in the future, we also like to transport data-driven topics. For example, that's why we invest in e-voting. That's why we do elektronisches Patientendossier and topics like those. However, to do that, you need to do many different topics. And the big difference between a startup and a research is that in a big corporate company, you have many different use cases, what you can implement and do with data science topic. So I do not have one specific one where I go really deep dive, because I think you had already the opportunity to listen to amazing talks. In contrast to that, I would like to show you a variety of different topics and the challenges we have in practice. So some of the use cases are probably quite obvious. So we do a lot in image recognition because we need to identify all the addresses people put on there, and we don't do it manually, as you can imagine. So we have all kinds of different use cases to recognize where's the image, where's the address, what kind of numbers do we have, how do we work with reflection problems. And then we have use cases with NLP, chatbot in our contact centers, voice-to-text application, which is quite tough, specifically if you speak Swiss German, because we have many dialects here. If you speak French, it's much easier. And we have huge political discussion with what kind of POCs do we start, French or Swiss German. Besides that, we have use cases as email automation, and that's one of the ones which we do already since a long time, and we also won prizes for that because we get 400,000 requests a year by email. Where's my parcel? When do I receive it? We get it in different languages. Some of them are quite easy to answer. Other ones are more tricky. And somehow you need to decide to whom do you send those emails internally? Who's answering those? And to have automatic responses. So we have here also intelligent solution in place to tackle those things and also to suggest how to handle those. Besides this, also you can hear to a podcast, Mengenprognosen bis Daten, where we speak, do we know how many parcels do we want to deliver on a Saturday? How many people do we need to deliver those? So prognosis to the future is also quite important to know who needs to work on a Saturday. And lastly, as you can imagine, geo-routing topics is also quite important for us. Route optimization based on sustainability, Nachhaltigkeit, but also to avoid wasting time, being in traffic jams, etc., but also who can deliver how much. So we have several topics here. And the advantage of being a big company is we do have a lot of data. We know basically who lives where. We know who moved. We know what did you order. So we have a bunch of data. We are not allowed to use all the information for every use case. So if you ask me, do you know where this famous person lives? I'm not allowed to tell you. However, we have a lot of interesting bunch of data, and we can have all kinds of different setups. But we do have challenges at the same time. So, for example, I would like to shortly introduce you to Project Connect, which goes that if you get something from different country and you need Verzollung, declaration, you need to declare taxes for getting a parcel. At the moment, you have 7-second time to recognize, do you need tax declaration to scan it and to proceed it further? And you can imagine this is not the most interesting job, and we need to do it quite often. So we thought about, okay, how can we improve this? And this is a use case we suddenly had more data than beforehand, because the standard IT MAT data, which is something which is not from the Swiss Post, but more in collaboration with different postal companies, say this is something we share beforehand. So we get information now about the IT MAT data. We know from the past which of the tax declaration have been necessary, and now we can learn by this what kind of parcels need to be declared and which ones do not be declared. And by this, it sounds easy and obvious, we need to rethink also our processes. We need to rethink how do we do it, not in real time, but fast enough. So that is what I would like to show you, that what kind of challenges are behind this and how standard data-driven use cases work. So here we have historical data. We do supervised learning. In this case, XGBoost worked best for that one. We had to use several ones because for text and numbers we used one, but then we need to do it also for languages, because if you say gift in German, it's poison. If it's a gift in English, I get a present. So you can imagine all those of content is also important. So that's why if you would like to scale something in practice, you need to work on all those small details, which sum up and takes a lot of time. And then, based on this, we now recognized or could classify new ones, and to give you an understanding what kind of challenges we had. Those were like data quality issues. Also, do you work more agile, or do you plan more advanced with data science topics? Always a problem, not a problem, something you would need to handle is people are skeptical on data science-driven solution. So you need to explain them what kind of advantage do you have, that you need your colleagues to improve the data, that you need to adapt the processes. So you need to do it together. And that's why we started to have analytic translators, besides having the data scientists, to really explain it, take the teams on board. And then we have legal restrictions, for example, that we need a human-in-the-loop version, because for legal observation we need that. And then obviously people would like to automate everything. So at the beginning they're skeptical, and then they would like to have the full automized version yesterday. And this is how you have to handle things in practice. And then you have your amazing machine learning model in the middle. You have to train it, you have to improve it, you have all the data you need to be satisfied. And then you need to build the architecture on it. You need to make sure that you have the right data. For example, with Java application, you have Kafka topics. You need to think about the process, have human in the loops to get really things into production. And this is something which is you should never underestimate. And people think this does not make fun. But I think it does, because you really, really see what kind of value you create. So sometimes it's a really easy data science model. Sometimes it's quite research related. The work around still needs to be done. And then how do we do it? And we improved over the years. And there are also people from other companies. So I'm eager to learn if you have inputs for us. But we usually do like in 3 stages. First of all, we have an exploration phase where you look at the data, you make a proof of concept, you test it, and you convince the business that this is the case where you would like to scale. Then you need to include the data engineers, you need to include the developers, you need to include the business analyst to build a solution where you get the data more regularly. You don't want to have a sample set of data, you would like to have the data more regularly. So in this case, you need a streaming environment, and think about that. And then you need 2 kinds of data set, historical data to retrain, and then all the time recent data to really run it in production. And for this setups, we have different processes to really ensure to make expectation management and to also explain at which stage are we to bring this to the next level. And if we identify it does not make sense, we also stop in between or we do a reloop. And besides this use case, and this is something which is quite interesting, and I'm sorry that I have so many German slides, but I was really happy to come here, so it was like my additional working hours in the evening to prepare that. Tourenplanung is the planning of the tours we do. And we have all kinds of interesting ideas how we can improve it. From topics like prediction to topics like where should people stop for parking, but also where should we take different routes, who should take which parcels and letters, do we do mixed mail? So all kinds of different data science use cases where you need the data, where you need people doing those topics. And I will show you also some of the challenges and setups we have. So in this area of routenplan and route optimization, we now have a project called DYLA, Dynamical Route Optimization. And now my colleagues, the Postboten, the people who deliver the parcels, in the past, they did the route. They knew. And now we really suggest them where to go. And for this, you need to have solutions which really scale, because you have 20,000 people delivering letters and parcel. You need solutions which work in Zurich and in Bern. You need solutions which are really reactive, because if you need to wait 5 seconds where to bring the next parcel, you get really annoyed colleagues. And believe them, 5 seconds is a long time. And you need convenient solution on your smartphone, which work also in bad weather situation. So it sounds really easy. Still takes a lot of time to do those things. And we have now new apps working internally also with virtual reality to show where should we bring certain setups. And we're at the moment bringing this into production. So not every one of you are already getting parcels letter by this system, but hopefully soon, in 1 or 2 years, every one of you will do that. But if we implement those solutions, people think this is really easy because we have all the data. I told you we have an amazing kind of data available. However, they are in different systems. And the data are not used for those kinds of solutions. So you have data quality issues. You need to link those data setups to make those things possible. And we realized we are not that good at it at the moment. And that's why we put a large program within Swiss Post to drive overall data science projects to a really new level. And we call this program Zielarchitektur 2030, Target Architecture 2030, and really build the foundation to have really the data available for all kind of those different use cases. I have to look at my time that you are still able to ask questions, so I wrap it up. based on that, we are currently investing in a sustainable, cost-optimized modular architecture to ensure stable operations, high quality, specifically in that the data are available to drive innovative projects. And I'm already at the end. Before I stop, I showed you several use cases to give you a bit of feeling what is different from research to startups to big companies. If you're interested in those one, come back to me afterwards. But also other companies like Micro, Swiss Re have also quite curious use cases. So just that you get the feeling of the different settings. That was all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Isabell, for your talk. And now it's time for the questions. Are there any questions in the audience?
Thank you very much for the presentation and for your extra working hours. It's amazing. And so my question is around, so I see that you have lots of data and also like in different formats. And are the solutions you are currently building are more like on-premise or it's actually in the cloud?
That's a really good question. And to be honest, I moved from my data science positions 9 months ago, from leading a data science team to the head of architecture technology. And the main reason was because here you can really drive the foundation. And yes, cloud migration is one of my large topics now, where we really bring many IT systems which are currently on-prem to the cloud. At the moment, more new applications are cloud native, but most of them are still on-prem. But that's what we currently invest massively to have that changed in the future.
Are there? Yes.
Thanks for a great talk. I had 2 questions. One maybe just a follow-up to what the colleague there asked. When you say you have a lot of rich data, addresses, a lot of private data as well, and then you're also thinking about migration to cloud and so on. 2-part question. How is the reception towards it internally of actually considering moving such parts? And also, how do you think about handling these kinds of barriers between them?
So a few years ago, the reception was quite low because Swiss Post is the best post company in the world, and they were really proud, and everything worked really fine. So the physical processes people were really proud of. And I was one of them and said, oh, we need to go more digital. And people were saying it, but honestly, many were not believing it. In the meantime, it's changed. And because we realized you really need to work on it, it's a marathon to be successful. So people had use cases where they realized, oh, data quality is really an issue. They had use cases where they identify, okay, no, I understand that we need to adapt processes to get things. So over the last 2 years, from the business side, the perspective really changed, and this gives a lot of momentum, and at the same time, pressure, because people now have high expectation, and you still need to do a lot of work. But I think the situation is really good because we really can work together, and I think you need the different skills and perspective to create successful products for the customers, because that's the need.
I had another follow-up question, if we have time. Yeah, so I was wondering, you mentioned e-voting. I was just curious if you could expand a little bit more on what's the future plan around that, because this sounds very different from Swiss Post.
Yes, so to explain it, we have different sub-companies or subgroups, and one is called communication services, where we build up ecosystem more in the digital area. And one is e-government, and e-voting is part of this system. And we believe that not every ecosystem can build up their own solutions. And for example, it's much better that a Swiss Post who knows how to trustfully deal with topics, because you send money with parcels. So people really trust us. And we believe this trust can be transferred to digital solution. And that's why we think with the right skill, with the right people, we are in the right place to offer solutions like electronic voting. And that's why we invest a lot in that, with inorganic or internal growth. And at the moment, our solutions are tested, I think, in 4 cantons. And hopefully, people are convinced that e-voting is something we need. We will see in the future. But we by purpose, we spend it because letters will decrease. We know that. And that's why we would like to move to create value also for the future Switzerland. But that's maybe an apropos topic. I could talk for that for an hour or so.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you so much once again, Isabell.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much.